You remember why we started this, right?
Exploring possibilities with creativity, be it music, be it painting, sculpting, textile, furniture, wood, concrete, cement, anything and everything. It's for anybody who wants to do lateral thinking.
A lot of stories that I have discovered or heard from our guests. If I had heard those stories 20 years ago, a lot of things would have been simpler, easier.
It's been interesting, and I think every episode has left me at least with something to take away with and change for myself.
Has your definition of success changed a bit after that?
In some ways, yes. If earlier I was looking at success in terms of money and the amount of money I was making, now it's more of the experiences that I have while working.
The way I feel it, Rajesh, I feel I'm going in a direction where my idea of success is becoming more well-rounded. आगे क्या? आगे मजा आ रहा है वैसे अपने को. We're talking to a...
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think our guests should be getting a lot more varied. We will try and talk to more and more complex creative people, like a tattoo artist.
Wow.
Like a makeup artist, like maybe a sculptor, somebody like Anish Kapoor.
In 5 words, tell us what the future holds for us. Go for it. Summary. Summary.
Oh, it's time to start.
Who are you?
So, Sarji, कैसे चल रहा है?
क्या?
We were supposed to do this after 10, 15 episodes. We're already at 22. So, why don't you बताओ कि कौन हो आप? Let our audience know.
जवाब तो आप पहले दीजिए. 2 सवाल हो गए ना. कैसा चल रहा है? चल तो सही रहा है, लेकिन पीछे मुड़ के देखा नहीं हम लोगों ने.
तो ये अभी और क्या कर रहा है? भैया ये तो कर रहा है.
चले जा रहे हैं. Going a bit with the flow as well, right? That's what we've done.
But the flowing has been good.
Yeah, it's been intriguing. So yeah, I don't think so we've introduced ourselves, right?
Yes. So आप शुरू करो. कौन हो आप?
जवाब सवाल पहले पूछना था ना. So who are we exactly? I'll give an answer. I'm formulating that answer in my mind. While I do that, why don't you go ahead? Because I think you've got a clearer definition of who you are. CEO of Kalatmak G.
Okay. So I am Rajesh Sharma, an architect by education and profession. And currently I am not practicing architecture because I am heading the family business, which is called Kalatmak Spatial Systems. We are into furniture manufacturing, and the idea is that we work with different architects. We are associated with the creative field, and being an architect myself, खुजली थी कि architects, designers, painters, sculptors कैसे काम करते हैं, क्या चलता है दिमाग में. I know what runs in my head, but what runs in their head? What is it that they go through in their lives? What are the challenges that they go through? How do they overcome those challenges? Sometimes it feels like we are facing challenges and other people are not. So it was that with which we start. At least I thought we would start this. So over to you.
I am a designer by education. I actually went to NIFT. I say that, and I studied accessory design. Accessory design doesn't exist today in the same form that we studied. It has different names. But to introduce myself, I say that I'm a product designer, or I design products. I specialize in furniture. I have my own company that designs and manufactures furniture and interiors. That's what I do as of now. Or I'm excitable is the word, excitable about anything to do with design, its processes, its maneuverings, its potential. And like you, I was curious about how different people maneuver through life, through their profession, the idea of success. And also, I think I have constantly, even in phases when I've been at a certain place doing a certain kind of work, I always found myself transient. I was always trying to do something, and I was doing something well, and I knew to do something well, but there was more curiosity, plus facing certain challenges of how do I navigate this or find my way around this or overcome this. Of course, in the professional spectrum professional space altogether. And that way, I think both of us have spoken quite a bit about it. And you said we might as well talk to others. The other dimension which came naturally to me, and I think to a large extent I stick around for that particular reason, which is I feel that questions, enquiries, curiosities I have had about the creative process is common to most. I also feel that a lot of stories that I have discovered or heard from our guests, if I had heard those stories 20 years ago, I would have had a lot of things would have been simpler, easier, right? So, thus I felt the need to keep that back as a capsule of information for people who might want to find solutions around their situation. And solutions doesn't mean you need a breathtaking problem, so to say. It could be, hey, I don't know how to maneuver through this. It could be, I'm doing well, but I want to do better. How? Should I go for academics further? Or should I continue to do what I'm doing? Should I change course? Should I actually take up a creative profession? Should I drop everything? Like, we hear about stories and come across stories where people were in a so-called monotonous job and they dropped everything to enterprise or become a creative person. They became a designer or an illustrator or an artist. I was curious about all of this, and thus to keep this capsule of information, which we call the Black Book of Creative Stories. So two things. Yeah, this is who I am. I'm a designer. I have my own company. I make my own furniture, design and make my own furniture and interiors. This is the curiosity that brought us together and helped us create this. So yeah, that's what I continue to do, what I do. How did we go video? Oh, we knew at some point of time, I think we had to go video, right?
Yes. And everybody kept saying, why don't you do video? Why don't you do video?
Too many feedbacks about video. I think the last push was by Keshav saying that kar dete hain, dekh liye. Right? Although I didn't have a number in place, I just felt that it would have been nice to do video sometime later. But circumstances were different. And I was like, okay, fine. Let us not let the opportunity go by. We might as well board the train. And that's what happened. And Bjorn was a great person to start with.
Yep.
And I think both of us were a lot overcome in some sense, overwhelmed with, wow, how things went. How is it going for you?
It's going good. It's going very good. I think every episode has been, we've gone back learning from every episode, whether it was Mr. Puri's, the very first episode, even though we knew him, when I knew him from earlier and I closely know him as more from a professional perspective as well as personal side, there was still so many things that I learned from that particular conversation that we had from him, to the last architectural one that we did with Amresh Anand. I think the learning has been great. What I've also realized is, in a lot of ways, I used to think that maybe I am the only one with so many things running in my head, wanting to do a bit of this, a bit of that, and, a huge gamut of things that I thought I would do. And I thought, okay, maybe am I the only one with all of these things in my head? And stuff like making friends with clients, wanting to do music, wanting to do photography, wanting to do spaces. But I think I realized that this is part of every architect's life. Some have so many dimensions to it, some have probably 2 or 3, but everybody has multiple dimensions to their personality and likes and dislikes, which in turn add to their design sense and their design philosophies. Same was the case with Vasu or even Arun Swaminathan. One very fascinating thing about Arun Swaminathan was that he left a job with somebody like Norman Foster. I'm not sure how big a name Norman Foster was when Arun Swaminathan was looking out for a job. But when I was in college, he had already achieved a lot. He was probably one of the best in the world, Norman Foster. And then similar thing, learning from Shaju, understanding from him as to how it was to work with all those people whom we just only read, like Zaha and also Cecil Balmont. We spoke to him at great length on Cecil Balmont itself. So it was nice. It's nice, and it's good to understand that we are not the only one with a lot more desires and the desire to do more. So it's been interesting, and I think every episode has left me at least with something to take away with and change for myself. Like even today's episode, what we recorded today, even though she is young and she started off about 4 5 years back and stuff like that, that also gave us something to learn. And yeah, that's how it has been. How about you?
The fact that I think every episode I have a learning. Rahul was brilliant. Vasu, Shaju, Pooja, Robin, Angad, Tina. I remember a lot of names and lots of. And, uncannily, it comes back to my mind when I need that. Right? For example, Rahul spoke about difference between being a lead and a leader,
yeah.
right? E and R. And I didn't remember it for the longest time. And the other day, something was happening, and I think I was telling one of my staff members, yaar, ye to sahi hai, but you need to be this, more like giving them a feedback of sorts. And at that point of time, this whole thing about Rahul's example of lead and a leader came back to me, and I said it in my own words. And I was smiling in my head. I was like, ye yaad nahi aaya tha mujhe. But that must have been my learning, and it must have gotten embedded in my memory somewhere ki zarurat jab padi, that learning just came forward, right? So that's something interesting that I found. I also like the fact that it is comforting to know that none of these people had a journey which is a straight line. The fact that my life is not different. The other thing is that a lot of people's work is a reflection of what they're going through. Pooja's example about how the more unsorted her life is, the more structured her pieces are. Robin, for that matter, spoke about, in some sense, he wings it, and he wings it so beautifully. He just makes everyday life look like a story. It's brilliant that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to him whether you give him accolades or not. He's just living life, winging it. What he knows, he goes with it. What he doesn't know, he'll figure it out. And that's being so stable, right? There are no huge waves. There's small little ripples, but it flows. Yeah, I mean, so loads of things have touched me. And overall, the experience of continuing to do this, I feel, is nourishing. Right. And the going from audio to video, I think, would have happened sooner or later. It just happened in this way, beyond, and Spatika and beyond, both of them. Yeah, there is where I am. If I evaluate this from the point of view of what did I benefit financially or professionally, then I would not do it. And I don't think so. Even if I did it, I would continue to do it. I think I do it because it's nourishing. I do it because there are lots of peripheral benefits as well. I do it because I connect to another fellow creative individual. I do it because, there are too many reasons to relate to somebody like Amrish when he talks about how the design happens in his head. And like, acha, I'm not procrastinating. The design is actually taking shape in my head. It's comforting, right? So yeah, I do it for lots of reasons. And I think it has helped me continue. I would like to believe that it catalyzes me at work. I don't evaluate it in terms of कितने पैसे आए, कब इसके पैसे आएंगे, और मुझे जॉब कितना मिला इसमें से, how many jobs did I? No. What about you?
I think right from, every time somebody comes back and says, oh, you're a podcaster now, so are you making money? Or is it is it helping in your business? I don't think either of them are happening. I don't know. Might be, may not be. Something that I have not paid attention to. Both of us, we know that that's not what we started off for. It was not intended to boost my business or your business, or we never started off with this thing thinking that we'll end up making money. Monetization, I don't know, whatever it is, we'll see what happens. Is it really helping me get more business? I don't know. May or may not be. I haven't analyzed that. But one thing that has probably done, and something that has happened, is that like I mentioned, that it's been a great learning experience. Even the process of starting off. If I go back a year, we started off on 1st May, and Keshav had very nicely given us a target of 1st May. And the 1st May target was even decided before even you came on board. So if I go 2 months before that and look at the whole thing, I don't think I would have ever even started off doing something like this. If not for Keshav pushing and giving us that direction. And because I know I'm not that disciplined, if I would have started something, and not just because I've invested in the equipment, we are continuing. It's something that the encouragement that we get from our clients, our guests who have been on the podcast, they are all liking it. And I think all of them come back and say that this is something nice that you're doing. Keep it up. It's a good move. And I think that aside also, it's more of personal learning. Everybody who's been on the podcast has taught us something and gone. And I mean, I think if I start putting across every episode's learning, it will become like a 2-hour episode. So it's just that it's just the personal learning that we take away from this, and it's been great. It's just been amazing, and I think a lot of people did come back. A lot of our guests who came on the podcast came back and said that they, in some ways or some time, want to start a podcast. I think they all should, because everybody is an expert in their own field, and I'm sure they all will have a lot to contribute to people in a world where there is so much information available at fingertips and easy information. I don't know whether half of that information even is useful, because there is so much junk available on social media in terms of stupid videos to whatever that goes on. And I'm not really trying to put down anybody. It's just each one has their own audience. So it would be nice if we, whoever is wanting to do podcasts or even thinking about doing the podcast, at least gives it a try and understand where is the journey going to take them. And if they do it with a perspective of learning and teaching more than a perspective of making money, I'm sure it will take them a long way.
Do you think there are more number of people who should make podcasts?
I am not sure of that, but definitely there should be more number of people coming out and giving stories, because a lot of podcasts are on business, or on, at least the ones that I have been hearing, there's a lot that's available on general knowledge, on business sense and stuff like that. But just stories in general, it's sometimes it's so nice to just understand, or not just understand, just listen to somebody who has just gone through 40, 50, 60 years of their life, and what is it that they've learned. So in our case, we are very specific to a creative field, but there is so much more. I mean, even there are times when I feel that, okay, we should probably start one podcast in this category and another podcast in that category, because there is a journey to be not understood, or all of that to be experienced in every field, be it adventure, be it business, be it fitness, anything. So if somebody is an expert in something and if they have an audience, I think it would be good if they start that off.
Tell me something. Has your definition of success been impacted?
In what way? I mean, success in what way?
We've spoken to about more than 20 people,
yes,
right? And they are successful in whatever they're doing.
Yes.
Right? Has your definition of success changed a bit after that?
In some ways, yes.
Mm.
If If earlier I was looking at success in terms of money and the amount of money I was making, now it's more of the experiences that I have while working. And not just the experiences, it's a lot that happens of learning, taken, give and take, the learning and teaching, all of that. I mean, that defines success a lot more now than just making money. Because every one of them whom we have been speaking to, whether they've made money, not made money, experiences have been amazing. So, and the more enriched we are with experiences, I feel that's makes us more successful.
Right. That's interesting to note, because I think one of the things that it did for me was change, or it's impacting my idea of success. I think it's becoming well-rounded. As you rightly said, it's not about how much money I'm making and what I can do with it. But, I mean, it's well-rounded from the point of view that how much did I intervene somewhere? How much value add was I? Have I been able to help in this? Have I been able to be more efficient in this? Do I stand in a better place to say a no more convincingly than I could do earlier? One of the things I think I started doing easier is start to say no easier. Earlier I would keep on negotiating this in my head. Kare na kare, kya fayda, kya. I think that process is becoming simplified. The more number of people I hear and discuss, no's are becoming easier. That this is not what I want to do. Or I will not be able to help you in this. Or I don't want to do business with this. I thought my idea of success was getting impacted. And this is the way I feel it, Rajesh, I feel I'm going in a direction where my idea of success is becoming more well-rounded. It is more meaningful than otherwise.
Yeah, it also gives a lot of clarity. This is what I will do, and this is what I think I should. If I've been thinking of doing this, and why, what's stopping me? All those clarities have started coming in. This is something that I wanted to do so many years back, or it is still something at the back of my head that I want to do. And now I'm probably able to go out and take a step towards that and say that, yes, I want to do it and I will do it. So that also has been happening.
While the other side is, with the idea of success being impacted, the idea of failure has been impacted a lot more. And if you look at everybody's maneuvering through situations, the story is about how they made their way and where they reached after that. The story is not so much about what they went out to do and how much of that they achieved. It's about finding ways to continue in some sense. And the more number of stories I hear about that, the less I beat myself up for things that I thought were failures. They're not failures. They're just, I wanted something. I went in a certain direction. It didn't happen. Have I made my way around it and moved to the next one? But continued to move. I feel that's happening a lot better and easier. I don't sit with failure and get into, I'm like, okay, this is what I headed out doing. This is not where it seems to be going. Maneuver. What next? How? Fast, quick, next thing. And in that, I feel there is more joy and there is more conviction than, अरे यार मुझे चाहिए था, इतना मेहनत किया, नहीं मिला, अब पता नहीं किसकी गलती. I think that's getting corroded away.
Yeah, true.
Those are the things that I can speak for myself. So that has changed with time, right? Yeah. So Rajesh, you remember why we started this, right? We started it for an audience in our head. We felt people in their late 20s when they have worked a few years and now wants to know what next kind of a thing. In our heads, when we started off, we felt they were the primary audience. But as in how we continued, there are two things that happened. One was the fact that we heard feedback from different age groups. We have a data on that, but one was that. And we found a lot of people coming back to us saying that, yeah, this made sense. And they were not in that age bracket. They may not even have been maneuvering, but they were grateful they heard somebody's story which made their life easier or better or more comfortable.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I feel, which is where we started changing one of the definitions. At least I started saying that this is for people who are in a creative quest. Could be that they are looking at a creative life themselves or considering a creative lives. And our show shows them a glimpse of what a creative life looks like. Somebody is stuck in a situation. They have creative professions or dedications or subscriptions, but don't know what to do with it. Our show is helping them out. And somebody's also wants to know, in spite of being successful and getting what they wanted, their idea of success has been ticked off. What next? How much bigger? Where do you take it? So anybody dealing with creativity across age groups, whether they are in it, maneuvering through it, or considering it, our show has become relevant to them.
Yeah.
Right. And across the world, I think that is what is happening, whoever is listening to us. So that way, in our heads, that has changed. Secondly, we started off with this product designer, interior designer, architect kind of a thing because we understood these fields. It's right up our alley. But it no more stayed there. I mean, we are speaking to all kinds of people who have a creative undertaking, right? Now we are talking to people who are into brands. They're artists, illustrators, sculptors, painters. We've already spoken to clowns, performing
Theater artists,
performing arts,
ceramic artists,
or considering alternative careers in music, potters, and we are reaching out to all kinds of creative individuals, right? So that has changed. We started off with a very small subset of the creative fraternity, if I can call it that. We've opened up. Our inquiries have also become different. What do you think?
So the first time when we thought we'll have a name to this, it was connected to creativity. But so Keshav asked me, what name do you want to keep? And back then, the only thing that kept running in my head about creativity was Kalatmak, as in a creative soul. It had nothing to do with the company. And in fact, that's the reason why we did not go for that name, because it was becoming a, synonymous to the company.
Everybody would have thought this is for Kalatmak.
And we did not want that to be.
Yeah.
So like we said, that's not what we started off for. It's not for increasing the viewership or the impact of the company on a larger platform. So then what else? We explored a lot of names. We did try a lot of things, and then we finally settled down to Creative Sparkplug. And initially, I think I would still like to say that Creative Sparkplug is a show for designers and creative thinkers, because that's the space that we want to be in. It's not defined only to designers. Design can be of any type, whether it's architecture, interior designing, UI, UX, product design, textile design, furniture design, anything, or even a creative thinker, for the matter that somebody who is a painter, sculptor, ceramic artist, theater person, even somebody like Bjorn, who is a clown, who's a professional clown, who's actually a theater artist but specializes in clowning.
That's the side of him we dug.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's been interesting, that we have been able to speak to creative folks from various fields, and that is what the show is about. The show is about exploring possibilities with creativity, be it music, be it painting, sculpting, textile, furniture, wood, concrete, cement, anything and everything. So I think that's what it is about. And we did define a target audience, saying that it would be for a young professional who is either at a turning point or at a crossroad to understand where he or she should move forward. But I think what has been happening is we have been getting a varied audience, right from anywhere between 12 to 14, 15 years of age to 65, 70. And it's interesting to see that there is a range of these listeners. I don't know what each one is thinking and what they're thinking, what impact it's having on them, because we haven't really been getting too many feedbacks in that sense. But a lot of people have come back and said, yes, this is good. This has helped me. I thought I was the only one. It's interesting to know that there are more folks who are going through the similar thing. So even as a creative person who has spent about 10, 15 odd years in the field, they are also finding it interesting. They're also finding from this that there are people who are who are going through a similar journey. Might not be the same, but going through a similar ups and downs and stuff like that. So it's interesting to know that.
Right.
I'm not sure at the moment whether non-creative folks are listening to it. We would like to know from our audience if that is happening. If it would be
We
nice
have
to,
some review on that. Very personalized, actually.
yeah. But that might be more from our close friends and family. But on a larger platform, we don't know that. So I think that's what it is, and it is definitely for anybody who, even if a housewife who's into stitching, into crochet, into handmade, paper art, or what do you call that, origami, whether they take it seriously or not, whether they're making a profession out of it or not, I think it's for all of them. For it's for anybody who wants to do lateral thinking, at least from my perspective.
Sure. So far, the audience in our heads was late 20s. I mean, while we are catering to a teenager and somebody who's in their late 60s or early 70s, I think the audience that, at least from my point of view, we would like to serve is somebody who directly benefits from these conversations. So, which includes the late 20s guys, but till about 45-ish, until most people we feel kind of has made up their mind as to what they are doing. So, essentially this whole phase where they are making moves, they're taking stands, they're taking decisions, they're dropping something, they're picking up something, they're taking a call, undertaking something. There's a lot that happens from your mid-20s till mid-45. Not to say that beyond that things don't happen. But this audience is who we are catering to. And a lot of our queries are coming from that. If you look at people who are inquiring into is also, they are actually giving us principles or their own philosophies that they have crystallized over 30, 40 years of working. And if you look at that experience, while, it is more relevant in practice of an art form or in the practice of creativity. So, and that is when you graduate, when you've typically, not necessarily, but typically finished design school or have got a creative backing, and you've gotten into this world with the identity of the fact that you're a creative individual and you're ready to work and serve as a creative person. There is where your questions start happening. How do I move? What next? How do I go through this process? This is not working for me. I want to change form. Do I need further education? Do I drop this altogether? All of these questions that gets answered, it's kind of relevant from your mid-20s till about mid-40s. I say mid-40s because things happen then. We again have peaked somewhere. We are heads of organizations or our own verticals or our own businesses, and you start asking these questions all over again. I mean, call it midlife crisis for all I care, but people want to get into or want to continue or whatever. There's this questioning that starts again. And in these 20 years, loads have happened in their lives.
Yeah.
They've made families, they've made babies, they've changed cities, they've changed 5 jobs, they have been fired, they've burned bridges, they have built bridges, they've built an ecosystem, a reputation has been built, they have become brands in themselves, they have gotten identified in the industry for a certain kind of work, and you're getting back into questioning. So if you look at the bandwidth that we are serving right now, it's mid-20s till about mid-40s. Yes, we are a good story for anybody who watches us.
Yep.
So we've spoken about where we started and where we are. We've spoken about our learnings and the thing that keeps giving us a kick and why we continue. We've spoken about a better definition of our audience. We've spoken about the kind of people we're talking with and how that is changing. आगे क्या? आगे मजा आ रहा है वैसे. You're talking to a...
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think our guests should be getting a lot more varied. We are exposed, exploring options of reaching out to people from various fields. We haven't had a musician so far. We would be getting people from that field soon. We're already talking to some. we will try and talk to more and more complex creative people, like a tattoo artist,
वाह सुन
like
के तो
like a makeup artist, like maybe a sculptor, somebody like Anish Kapoor. I'm not saying right now we are not even close to reaching out to somebody of that stature,
Why
but
not यार टैग कर
we
देंगे ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या बोलेंगे I'm too high and mighty for you यही बोलेगा बोलने दे कोई ना हम पहुंच जाएंगे
but the idea is to reach to more and more popular people, and to also understand from people who are a lot more promising, whom we see that, because creativity is not bound by the age. It's not that somebody who is a 20-year-old is not going to be creative, or somebody who is 60-year-old is the epitome of creativity. Creativity can happen across the ages. So we're trying to get more and more interesting people.
The bandwidth of people we are reaching out to is very different. It's not our comfort zone. We went out of our comfort zone a while back. So yes, you're right. Tattoo artists to this, to painters, to mural artists, musicians, sculptors. We are talking to a wide bandwidth of people. That's one. So that's something to look forward to. The other thing I also feel is that with this change of bandwidth of the creative people we are reaching out to, what is also changing is we are not reaching out to people who are considered popular also, Rajesh. I think we are reaching out to people we find have an interesting, inspiring, aspiring story to tell.
Yeah.
Right? It's more nourishing. We feel their lives are more nourishing. And we are getting curious about them. We do not get curious about the popular ones as much as we used to do earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like फर्क नहीं पड़ता popular है या नहीं है, but you remember we spoke about this master carpenter in Mysore. Who knows him? But
Yes.
we're like at it. We want to go. Park ourselves there if need be a couple of days and soak it in ourselves first, very selfishly, and serve it.
True.
Right. So I think these are the two things to look forward to: a larger bandwidth of creative people, and more importantly, an interesting mix of the stories they have to say about their lives, which is a lot more nourishing. It's more about quality than popularity in some sense. Yeah, that's what I would say. In 5 words, tell us what the future holds for us. Go for it. Summary. Summary.
In 5 words.
We've gone video.
So I think I think the future definitely looks very interesting too, because we will be getting a lot more interesting people. We have stopped shooting in this space that we see here in most of our episodes. Our cover pages.
Lots of travel coming.
Lots and lots of travel coming.
Lots of interesting characters.
We want to go to the interesting characters, go record there, see how they do. And since we have gone video, we definitely want to show a lot more than just the faces on the video. And yeah, and what else do you think would you like to do?
Video, lots of travel, lots of exciting characters and stories, and their stories. Hey, anybody who wants to be on a show should ideally reach out to us. Reach out to us, write to us. Show us your work, show us what you got to, what's your story. In a nutshell, share links with us. We will be more than happy to dig you up and have collaborations. We would love to do that, right? So, while you're giving us feedbacks, letting us know which helps us, which has made us better so far, do go ahead and write to us if you want to collaborate with us. That'll be great. If you ask me, कि तुम्हारे हिसाब से राजेश का क्या definition Creative Sparkplug का? I think you stay creatively relevant and keep yourself updated with the creative process at Creative Sparkplug.
So Creative Sparkplug to me is a platform which allows me to think differently. Lateral thinking. Yep.